It's with a heavy heart that I wish Aaron Woods the best of luck at the Sharks. In only 15 games at the Bulldogs, he really made his mark and will forever be remembered for his inspirational runs and his skillful plays. Nah. The only thing Aaron Woods would be remembered for is how big of a mistake it was that we signed him. We lost James Graham for this guy. We are paying the Dragons to have James Graham.
What? Get out of here!
Now last year when Aaron Woods signed, I was very skeptical. There was talk we had salary cap problems and he was signing on a big contract. And around that time we also signed Kieran Foran, which has turned out to be probably an even worse move than Aaron Woods. At least Aaron Woods actually got out on the field and put some minutes in. Now for many years people have called Aaron Woods overrated. And it probably is the case. Well, maybe not no more. It's probably done a total 180 because now everyone thinks he's like the most overrated player, the worst player, he's so overhyped and stuff that he actually is probably underrated now. He's not a terrible player, he's just not worth that amount of money that he was on at the Bulldogs. At the end of the day, I think that's why he was under a lot of criticism at the Bulldogs. At the start of the season, Dean Pay talked about how he's going to bring back the dogs of war mentality, going to bring back the aggressiveness in the forward and just destroy teams. Obviously, it hasn't played out that way, and Aaron Woods, he's never that sort of player. Also, another thing that I think worked against Aaron Woods was the fact that James Graham was the captain. He was so well liked, such a good player, and he was literally his replacement, so you can have direct comparisons. They played the same position, and James Graham, it just fit the Bulldog culture so much better. Aaron Woods was Tigers through and through. Essentially, he became a bit of a mercenary. When he left the Tigers, I think he left a little bit of himself there. When he was playing for the Tigers, he wasn't just playing. He was a local junior. He was a local kid who supported the Tigers, and he came through the grades. And, you know, it's just more of a connection at the Tigers. When he moved to the Bulldogs, it became about collecting a paycheck. At least that's what it felt like to a Bulldogs fan. I know the Bulldogs as a whole weren't doing well, but he's a star player. In no games this year has he stepped up. In fact, a lot of the times he killed off a lot of games. The amount of times that we've had a lot of momentum and then we end up with Aaron Woods carrying up the ball, backing into the defence, and either getting destroyed or throwing a shit offload and giving the ball away is just way too high. Especially for someone with his experience who's played for New South Wales and played for Australia. Now, if the Dogs weren't in such a bad salary caps position, I think Woods would maybe get a little bit of leeway, but it's just the fact that we've got the cap against us, we're losing all our players, and then here's this guy who's doesn't even seem like he's putting in. It was very much the same as Tony Williams. And funnily enough, Tony Williams ended up at the Sharks after us. Now, I think that Aaron Woods is a much better player than Tony Williams, but it was sort of the same sort of mentality where we're looking at what Tony Williams did at Manly and you're going, man, where the hell's that player gone? And the same thing is when you look back at Aaron Woods' performances for the Tigers. I remember last year, the Bulldogs played the Tigers and Aaron Woods tore us apart. We've seen nothing like that for the Bulldogs. And that's exactly why he lost his New South Wales spot. Aaron Woods went from being a sure thing, and in one season at the Bulldogs, he's ruined it. He's so far down the pecking order now that when Regan Campbell-Gillard gets injured, there's no talk of Aaron Woods. The talk is it going to be Ryan James or is it going to be Matt Pryor? Now personally, when the talk started about Aaron Woods leaving the Bulldogs, I was thrilled. He was not even halfway through a 4-year contract and we're already thinking, man, what have we got ourselves into? This guy is not the player that we thought he was. Like, we've got another 3.5 years of this shit. That, and also we're experiencing the same thing with Kieran Foran. Meanwhile, they're saying club favourites, the Morris boys, are not going to get re-signed. Moses Zumbai just signed for the Tigers. Add in the fact that all the players we had already lost the previous season, James Graham, Josh Reynolds, Sam Casiano, fan favourites who had been at the club for quite a while. Now, even though the Bulldogs find themselves down the bottom of the ladder, it's not as if we've been getting smashed every week. We've been very close a few times. It's like we get to the end of the game and then we just can't seal the win. If we had, you know, won a few of those games, maybe this conversation would be very different about Aaron Woods. But it's not, and now he's a Shark. So Sharks fans, what can you expect? Well, I think you're going to get a pretty solid player. He's not an amazing player that all the experts seem to think he was the last few years, but he's also not as bad as what they're all saying he is now. He can play big minutes, he's got an offload in him, it's just he needs to cut the errors out. The only problem with the Sharks, they've already got someone who gives away a lot of penalties and can't play the ball in Andrew Fifita, except Fifita's actually explosive and, you know, can change a game. But that's also why I think Aaron Woods will work at the Sharks. When he was at the Tigers and the Bulldogs, he was always expected to be the main forward. Now he goes to the Sharks, he's just another forward player. They've still got Gallen, they've still got Lewis, they've got Fifita, he's not even their best prop. In fact, he's probably not even their second best forward. I think it's going to be bittersweet for Bulldogs fans because although we're happy to get rid of him, and it's best for our club that we get rid of him, he'll probably go out with a chip on his shoulder and actually start putting in. But the only thing that matters is that he wasn't going to do it at the Bulldogs, so we may as well have got rid of him. If he ends up killing it for the Sharks, that doesn't change the fact that he wasn't pulling his weight at the Bulldogs. Anyways, I think that's enough ranting about Aaron Woods. Make sure you leave in the comment section below what are your thoughts on him signing with the Sharks. Also, while you're at it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke on my tee. Radio guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.